The Masked Singer is back, and that means I am back with my Masked Singer recap and reaction videos. We meet the first 5 contestants of the season. We're talking about Group A, and one, of course, by the end of the episode will be unmasked. So let's talk The Masked Singer. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my Masked Singer recap and reaction video. We are now in Season 12. It is hard to believe we've come this far, but yes, once again, I have my, well, actually, this is a different Toy Story 3 notebook. I had the one with the Army Men on it, with the scratchy cover, but I ran out of room on that. We did so many Masked Singer seasons, and it's Season of the Masked Dancer, so I ran out of room in that, but I had another Toy Story 3 notebook at the ready. I don't know why, but whatever. When the movie came out, I bought a couple of these notebooks and never used them, and so now we finally have great use for my Toy Story 3 notebooks. So in Season 12, we're going to get this week the first 5 contestants of the season, and that's going to be Group A. I imagine we're going to have a wild card episode at some point as well. But for now, we've got these first 5 performers. And before we launch into the specifics of this episode and the clues and my guesses and the panel's guesses and the unmasking, let me welcome you back to Dan Reviews It. If you have watched my channel before, you know that the Masked Singer videos are pretty big deals on my channel. If you only come for the Masked Singer content, well then welcome back from, you know, the summer. But look, I do a lot of other things on my channel, a lot of movie reviews, TV reviews, just about every day. I do try to post something new. So there's always a lot going on, not just the masked content. So please check out the other stuff in my channel. But subscribe too. That always is great to have you aboard in that capacity. But most important for the Masked Singer specific videos, I think, is the comments, because you guys always kind of steer me in one direction or the other, whether, you know, you're bolstering my guess or suggesting something else that could be who is under the mask. You guys are real good with the clues, and some of you look at outside sources as well and get your clues from there. And sure, you know, I like to kind of think of it off the dome, and I've done pretty well, I think, by doing that. So, all right, in Season 12, we know that there are 14 Emmy nominations among the season's performers, 202 film appearances, that's a lot, and 5 of these people personally know Taylor Swift. Now, what does that mean, personally know Taylor Swift? They are, you know, I don't think Blake Lively is here under one of the masks, but, you know, have run into her backstage somewhere. Like, what specifically does that mean, that they know Taylor Swift? That's a little bit, it's more specific to say this many film appearances or Emmy nominations. That is something that is quantifiable. How many people know Taylor Swift? That seems a little bit, I don't know, weird and sort of throwing us off. So I'm not really going to worry about that portion. But the other stuff is a little interesting. All right, so let's start where the season starts with the Buffalo. I will say Rita Ora is back for this season. Nicole Scherzinger still, when they recorded this season, was still in London's West End doing, now I forget, was it Phantom of the Opera she was doing? Whatever. So she is out once again this season. So we have our regular, you know, mainstay 3 panelists, Ken Jeong, Jenny McCarthy, and Robin Thicke, and then Rita Ora, who, look, I think Rita Ora's fine. I think she has some interesting guesses. I don't know if any of her guesses are right today, but all right. We start with the Buffalo, and one of the new things they're doing this season, which I think is pretty cool, is they are having one of the past performers introduce the new performer, and it is someone who has a connection to them. So they themselves are a clue. So the first one was Nicholas Shea, who was Piglet from Season 5. I believe he won that season. And there's a jackpot motif to this clue package. Nick says that the buffalo was raised in the poorest grasslands, slept in roach-filled beds, and practicing at bus stops. And then we turn it over to the buffalo himself, and he says, thanks to a big break at a cattle call, it was game on. And at that point, we see Betty White and Vanna White. And he says, from there, it was the Walk of Fame and starring in 2 of the biggest sitcoms of all time. And we go back to Nick, and he says, they're always the center of attention at my Super Bowl party. And then they sing, I Just Died in Your Arms Tonight. Great tune by the Cutting Crew from the 80s. Kind of a one-hit wonder here in the States. But, all right. Then, as they are performing, we see a second buffalo emerge, and then a third buffalo emerge. So we have a herd now of the buffaloes. Or buffalo, I guess, would be the plural still. And then after everybody sings, there is a gift that, supposedly is gifted from the ambassador that introduced them, but of course Nick Lachey, has no clue about this. But whatever, the gift was a crown. I did think it was interesting that they did not speak to the people afterwards. Nick Cannon did not ask any questions about these gifts. Sometimes we get a bigger clue, but I think these gifts are pretty self-explanatory. So we don't really need much chatter with this, but okay. So the guesses from the panel, B2K, I think is what Rita was thinking. Earth, Wind, and Fire was one of the guesses as well. I'm thinking, or maybe that was Rita's guess. I forget who said that, but anyway, she was thinking Verdine White from Earth, Wind, and Fire. You've got Betty White, Vanna White. I certainly was thinking on that tip as well. Is there somebody with the name White in this collective? And then Robin was thinking, wouldn't it be funny if it was the other members of 98 Degrees that Nick Lachey had put out there? But he was also getting maybe a little bit of a Jonas Brothers vibe as well. I had a different thought, and maybe this is because these guys are local to where I grew up, local to me, Philly boys. I think this might be Boys to Men. And here's why. I have a couple of thoughts here. They were on, or two of them, I think, were on the celebrity edition of Wheel of Fortune. So there's your Vanna White. I can't quite figure out the Betty White thought there, but and I didn't really look up all their names either. I kind of know their first name. I know Wanye Morris. Nate, Nate Morris? One of them might be named White. I don't know. But anyway, Vanna White, they were on Celebrity Wheel of Fortune. Okay. But also, practicing at bus stops. Boys to Men famously, and maybe this is more famous to me because I'm from Philly, but, famously honed their craft, at the school bus stop. We see that a little bit in the Motown Philly video. And then starring in two of the biggest sitcoms of all time. All right. Starring is a little bit of a stretch, but they did make an appearance on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I without looking it up, I couldn't think of the second sitcom they've done. But, B2K, 98 Degrees, I can't think of any sitcoms that any of the panel's guesses have done. And I at least have one sitcom for these guys, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The Crown, the Kings of R&B, I don't know. But I don't think that's a bad guess. I mean, they obviously have harmonies. At one point, there were 4 Boys to Men, and now I think there are 3. And then, for me personally, again, I guess maybe personally, the Philly clues are the biggest, but I saw Boys to Men performing with 98 Degrees, which features, of course, Nick Lachey, at a concert together. They toured one summer on the New Kids on the Block mixtape festival. It was Boys to Men, 98 Degrees, Paul Abdul, and New Kids on the Block. So I think that's a pretty good guess, personally. Let me know what you think in those comments. I think the Buffalo is Boys to Men. All right, up next is the Woodpecker. Jennifer Lewis came on to introduce this one. She was Cleopatra from season 11. She said, I have known her from her start. She's been called a mogul, a CEO, friends with Beyonce. And we see a roll of sports tape with the word next on it. And then we go to the Woodpecker talking about herself. And she says, the only doors that open are the ones you knock on. So I knock on them all. And we see at that point a big sort of gate with a poster that says family to the side of it. I'm striving to be the youngest ever billionaire. We see an SAT score thing there. So I'm thinking maybe, I don't know, these initials, Saturday Night Live, SAT, I don't know. And she says, I want to prove I can do anything. We go back to Jennifer Lewis there, and she says, I believe in you 100%. The song she does is Flowers by Miley Cyrus. Standard these days, probably at karaoke bars and such. But her gift from Jennifer Lewis says World record. So she is a world record holder. The guesses from the panel, I don't think any of these are necessarily terrible. Willow Smith was Ken's guess. Obviously, young. She would probably have known Jennifer Lewis since she was born. And then Rita thought Cardi B at first, maybe, but then went to Halle Bailey from The Little Mermaid. And then Keke Palmer was thrown around as well. One of my absolute favorites. I love her. She's the host of Password, currently on NBC. But she, has been in movies since she was young. So it would also make sense Jennifer Lewis would know her from the start. But I have one that may be too on the nose for the ambassador Jennifer Lewis. But what if this is her Blackish co-star, Marsai Martin? She played Diane on Blackish. She is young. Now, youngest billionaire, I think that has passed because I believe there is a billionaire that is like 18 or 19 years old. Not in America, but somewhere else. And I don't know if it's a female. I think it is. But Marsai is 20. So that's pretty close. I don't know, just putting the clues together, Jennifer Lewis has known her since she was a kid, whatever. But here's what kind of got me on this train as well, is the world record. Because there was a movie a few years ago, I want to say 2018 maybe, called Little, and Marsai Martin was in it. It was her and Issa Rae. It was a body swap movie. She turned into Issa Rae. But more importantly is that Marsai Martin was the producer, one of the producers on that movie. And I do believe that she holds a world record as the youngest or maybe youngest female producer on a feature film. So that tracks for me. I just don't know. Is it too on the nose to have Jennifer Lewis come out and present her? I don't know. But she would certainly have known her since she was very little. I think when Blackish started, she was probably 7 or something like that. So, all right. Up next is the Leaf Sheep, and this is who was voted out. So we will go to the Take It Off after these clues and then get to the other two performers. But we had DeMarcus Ware, who was the koala from season 11, as the ambassador here. And he said, I don't know what this is. Is this a goat? Whatever. I don't know what a leaf sheep is either. And Nick Cannon, when he first said it, I thought he said a lychee, which is like I don't know if it's a fruit or what it is, but I looked it up and it's leaf sheep. These costumes are just getting sillier and sillier. But, okay. So he says, I've only been the leaf sheep for 3 days, or I've only known what a leaf sheep was for 3 days. So does that mean this person was sort of a last-minute entry to The Masked Singer? Did someone drop out? I don't know. But we see a quarter there. So everyone on the panel was saying quarterback. He said, I'm a little sluggish these days, but not in my prime. We see a number 1 flash across the screen in a bubble. He said, I've scored headlines, topped the country's charts, revived a franchise, and we see a cowboy hat at that point. And I'm here to keep the good times rolling. And DeMarcus says that they run in the same circles. And he sings, I like it, I love it. Sing is nice to say. This was a hatchet job, a butchering of this song. Tim McGraw's I like it, I love it. It was one of the worst performances we've had on this show. But clearly this is bolstering that the person is an athlete, not a singer. And the gift after the song was a trophy that said Hall of Fame. So this is a Hall of Famer. And they all stuck with their guesses from the original performance. So we'll just go with those by the end. This one's going to go pretty quickly because I have a vague guess on this. I don't know my sports. If you watch my show, you know that. So anytime there's a sports, I still don't know who DeMarcus Ware is. I mean, I could go back in my old notebook and look at the season 11 clues and say, okay, maybe he was on this team or whatever. I still have no idea really who DeMarcus Ware is. But Robin stuck with his guess from the original song and said it could be Troy Aikman from the Cowboys. I know who that is. I've heard of that person. Rita went another direction and thought this could be an actor that played in a football movie, Billy Bob Thornton. Now, he does sing. He has a band called, I think, the Boxcars or something. But I think if he sings and goes on tour, he does not sound like this. So I don't think it's Billy Bob Thornton. Ken thought it might be John Elway. I think that's a good guess, too, because the cowboy hat could signify the Denver Broncos. And obviously, I've heard of him as well. And then Jenny thought it was Tom Brady. There's no way it's Tom Brady. The clues for me don't match up. I mean, if it was Tom Brady, there would be, something for Patriots or, I don't know. We'd see an actual goat, since he's known as the GOAT. Although I guess he did keep saying, DeMarcus Ware kept calling him the GOAT or a GOAT. Because he didn't understand what a leaf sheep was, so I guess maybe that is something. But no, look, I'm gonna go with Robin on this, because I thought Cowboys as well with the cowboy hat. It could though be for the Denver Broncos as well. I didn't hate that guess from Ken, and Ken usually does know his sports stuff, but I think the Cowboys thing makes more sense to me. And I'm not gonna, when I go to the ticket off, I'm not gonna really recognize this person. If it's John Elway, maybe I will recognize him. Troy Aikman, I know who that is by name. I don't know what he looks like, though. So, but I'll go with that. Robin, sure. Let's say Troy Aikman is under the leaf sheep. Let's have a look here. I picked the wrong one. I should always go with Ken on the darn sports. It's John Elway. Darn it, darn it, darn it. Okay. And I say this every season. Every time I do go with Ken when he has a sports guess, it's not right. Denver Broncos. Wow. All right. So Ken was right. First week, that's something. I do actually, recognize him. Okay. He looks pretty good. He's got to be in his at least 60s, right? But all right, he said he doesn't really know why he did the show. Just he's been retired for a while, looking for something to do. All right, well, I start the season with 0 for 1. Man, I picked the wrong. I should always go with Ken on sports. I know. All right, well, John Elway, there you go. All right, so let's get to the other two here quickly. So the Showbird is next. Joel McHale introduced her. And didn't really have much to say. Just, hey, I was never even a performer. He talked mostly about himself, of course. He said, I've never even competed on the show, but he did actually perform in one of the opening segments. So technically, I guess he's a performer on The Masked Singer. So he said, I never imagined, or I'm sorry, the Showbird said, I never imagined all of this. We see 3 microphones at that point. I don't know if that's an indication of, part of a group of 3 singers. I don't know. But she said, I was a total nerd and tomboy growing up. I went to Comic-Con, played with Lego, and then we see a book that says Advanced Singing 401. I don't know if that has something to do with, her birthday is April 1st or April Fool's Day, something like that. I don't know. But numbers always means, I feel like, something on this show. All right, she said, I try to keep things humble and low-key. We see a gavel at that point. She said, I bared my soul in some of the biggest blockbusters ever. So this is a little out of my element. She sings Just Fine by Mary J. Blige. And I would say that's what the performance was. It was just fine. It was good, but I would not say, she's going to be sticking around too much longer on this competition with some of these other performers. But it was an okay performance. So the guesses were Rita Ora said Jennifer Hudson. I think Jennifer Hudson's got a better voice than this, but the 3 mics, she mentioned Dreamgirls, Rita did. So that could be something. I don't know what the judge's gavel is, but Advanced Singing 401. Was she on season 4 of American Idol? I don't know, but maybe. She was definitely on one of the earlier seasons. So I don't know. Some of the biggest blockbusters ever, though, is throwing me a little bit. She's done a few movies, but I don't know that they were some of the biggest ever. All right, then Taraji P. Henson was guest, and then Kerry Washington from Robin. I don't hate any of these guesses necessarily, although I don't think the voice is strong enough for Jennifer Hudson, if I'm being honest. I was thinking, along sort of on that Taraji P. Henson theme, I was thinking maybe Viola Davis, because, some of the biggest blockbusters of all time, she is part of the DC universe. She did both of the Suicide Squad movies. I don't know that they were huge blockbusters. Well, the first one did pretty well, but I don't know. I mean, when I think the biggest blockbusters of all time, you've got, the Marvel stuff, the Harry Potter stuff, Star Wars, maybe some of the voice work in animated movies. I don't know. This is the only one I'm like, I really have no clue on. So you guys will have to help me in the comments with this. Taraji P. Henson can sing, though. We've seen that in Empire. Does Joel McHale know her? Like, a lot of this is throwing me. So you guys need to fill me in a little bit on this. I guess for now, I will say Taraji P. Henson for the Showbird. The biggest blockbusters of all time. That one's throwing me a little bit too. I don't know. I'm very unsatisfied with that guess, but that is what I will go with for now. All right, and then we have the ship. Jewel is the ambassador for the ship. She was the Queen of Hearts in season 6, and I believe she won that season. And she said, there is so much depth on this show that I didn't realize until I performed. And with the ship, I think there is depth as well. And then we go over to the ship, and she says, the tides can change from angry to serene on a dime, much like my life. My career set sail at a rapid clip. We see an airplane, a model airplane at that point with a clock on the front of it, and a wanted sign as well. She said, I had massive hits, but lost control and felt totally forgotten. But after years, I finally have the career I've always wanted. We see a TV at that point, and she moves the antenna into an X. So is this someone that has been a judge maybe on the X Factor? Maybe. X-Files I thought of as well. X-Men. TV-wise, there's only really been the X-Men cartoons, I believe. So maybe she does a voice on that. I don't know. Or maybe I just read into it and it doesn't mean X at all. But I think maybe X, somebody from the X Factor. And then went back to Jewel and she said, steer towards your fears like we did all those years ago. Interesting. And then the song she sings is Pompeii by Bastille. And she just tore the roof off the place. It was a slowed down version. That is a great song, by the way. I love Bastille. They're one of my favorite, newer bands. And she started out sort of, with a deeper vocal and then just ramped up. And at the end was just giving these fantastic notes. And the end of the performance, this is one I'm actually going from the voice, and that got me back to the clues. Because originally, hold on. The gift, I'll say my guess in a second, because it's none of the people that they said. The gift was a cowboy hat for the post-on clue. So Cyndi Lauper was the first person mentioned by Rita. That, to me, I've seen Cyndi Lauper live. That's not Cyndi Lauper's voice. Also, she's not really in Jewel's era. That was, she was mainly the 80s. By the time Jewel came around, Cyndi Lauper was, not really having the best career. But she has done TV. I'll give her that. She has, I think, an Emmy Award for guest starring on Mad About You. So that's something, maybe. But a lot of the other clues are not matching up. She thought the clock on the airplane was for time after time. Maybe. Joan Osborne is what Jenny McCarthy said, although she couldn't even remember her name. She said, I think it might be that gal that sang One of Us, which that lines up at least time-wise with Jewel. And then Robin said it could be Enya, because she has that song Orinoco Flow, Sail Away. But also Sarah McLachlan, who is the first person I thought of with the clue package, because, of course, Sarah McLachlan did Lilith Fair. She was in certainly that era with Jewel. And, she's certainly had some careers ups and downs, and she has that famous commercial on TV with the pets. But once I heard the vocal, I said, this is absolutely not Sarah McLachlan. So I had two thoughts for this, but I'm definitely siding with one because of the great vocal tone at the end. I thought this might be Annie Lennox at the start, because look, Annie Lennox has one of the greatest God-given voices, around. She is just an amazing singer. And the more lower register on the beginning of the song, I thought, okay, who can hit notes like these and make them sound so beautiful? And I was thinking Annie Lennox, but when she sort of came to that crescendo or whatever you call it at the end of the song, where she was just pushing those vocals up, I thought of only one name, and then all the clues came together for it. Paula Cole. Now, if you don't know the name Paula Cole, she sang Where Have All the Cowboys Gone? So there's your cowboy hat. She did Lilith Fair with Jewel. They came out right around the same time. I mean, Where Have All the Cowboys Gone? And her album, This Fire, and Jewel's album, Pieces of You, came out, or hit big, at least within, a year or two of each other. Pieces of You took about a year to actually hit. That's a different story. But the Paula Cole album, This Fire, it had Where Have All the Cowboys Gone? It had I Don't Want to Wait, which is a theme song as well from Dawson's Creek, which is a TV show, of course. So there's maybe your TV clue. I don't know about the X of the antenna. Was she on the X Factor? I don't know. But the wanted sign could also be for Wherever All the Cowboys Gone. Certainly the cowboy hat is. And then, I don't know, the clocks could be for I Don't Want to Wait. Maybe, I don't know. But look, there is a video that I go back to all the time. It is from the Peter Gabriel Secret World Tour. This was from 1992, I believe. Paula Cole, this is before she had her solo career, was one of his backup singers. And I'm going to link to this in the description so you can watch this as well. But there is a performance that I go back to constantly of In Your Eyes, which is, you know, just one of the greatest songs of all time anyway. But Paula Cole sort of intros the song as they're doing kind of the rhythmic stuff to lead into Peter Gabriel's vocals. And she just goes off on some of these high register notes, holds them for like, 25, 30 seconds. It is a stunner of a performance. And her doing the end of Pompeii reminded me a lot of that. So for me, this is one of the easier choices. I think this is for sure Paula Cole under the mask for, I forget the character now, the ship. It's always weird when they do non-alive creatures, but the ship. All right, so look, we've talked long enough. That is your wrap up for Group A. At least the original 5. I do think we'll probably get a wild card at some point. Now, next week, did they do Group A again, or did they do Group B? They always mix it up from season to season, so I'm not sure. But anyway, those are my guesses. The one I really, really do not know was that 4th performer, the Showbird. You gotta help me in the comments on that. But what do you think of my other guesses? I think they're pretty solid. Boys to Men for sure. I'm bummed that I picked the wrong quarterback. So now I'm 0 for 1 for the season. But look, that's how I always prove that I don't look things up before I do these videos. Otherwise I would have probably picked the right one. But all right, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.